In the shadows of slavery, a boy was born into bondage, yet destined to rise beyond every chain that bound him. This is the story of Booker T. Washington, an extraordinary man whose life became a beacon of hope, resilience, and faith. Welcome to History's Gifted, where we uncover stories of purpose and perseverance. Today, we explore the life of Booker T. Washington. Before continuing with this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe to support this history channel. Booker T. Washington was born in 1856 in Franklin County, Virginia. He came into a world where his worth was measured by labor and his dreams stifled by oppression. Yet, even as a child, Booker was drawn to something greater, an insatiable hunger for knowledge. As a young boy toiling under the weight of slavery, his curiosity was ignited by the distant hum of voices and the soft scratch of chalk from a nearby schoolhouse. He would pause in his labor, watching through dusty windows as other children, free and full of possibility, sat at their desks, absorbing lessons he could only dream of. Though forbidden from entering, Booker felt an unshakable pull toward the world of letters and books. That glimpse of education, just beyond his reach, planted a seed of determination in him, a silent promise that one day he too would unlock the power of knowledge. His first glimpse of education ignited a fire within him. But how does a boy born in chains begin the journey to freedom of the mind and spirit? Freedom came in 1865 with the end of the Civil War, but for millions of formerly enslaved people, it was freedom in name only. The legal chains of slavery had been broken, yet the harsh realities of poverty, discrimination, and systemic oppression remained deeply entrenched. In the South, opportunities for newly freed African Americans were scarce. Sharecropping replaced slavery with a cycle of debt and dependency, and Black families struggled to find stability in a society that still viewed them as inferior. Laws and customs were designed to keep them marginalized, limiting their access to land, jobs, and especially education. Despite these overwhelming obstacles, Booker T. Washington saw a different path forward. He understood that true freedom was more than the absence of physical bondage. It required the power of knowledge, self-reliance, and economic independence. To Booker, education was not just a privilege. It was a vital tool for survival and progress. He believed that by mastering practical skills and academic knowledge, African Americans could uplift themselves and challenge the deeply rooted prejudices of society. This belief became the cornerstone of his life's work. He envisioned a future where education would empower individuals to build strong communities, secure financial stability, and ultimately command respect and dignity in a hostile world. For Booker, the classroom was a battlefield of its own, a place where minds could be liberated and futures could be rewritten. Washington worked in salt furnaces and coal mines in West Virginia for several years to earn money. At age 16, he made his way east, mostly on foot, to Hampton Institute, a school established in Virginia to educate freedmen and their descendants. There he worked as a janitor to pay for his studies. He learned discipline, work ethic, and the power of character, values that would shape his life's mission. The principal of Hampton Institute was so fond of Washington that he recommended him to a group of Alabama legislators as a viable candidate for director of an African American school that they wanted to establish in their state. In 1881, at the age of 25, Booker T. Washington accepted the opportunity to lead a newly established school in Tuskegee, Alabama. Faced with limited funds and scarce resources, he involved his students in building the school themselves in exchange for their education, allowing them to gain hands-on experience in trades like bricklaying and carpentry while actively contributing to the school's growth. This approach enabled Washington to expand the Tuskegee Institute despite financial constraints by relying on student labor. Beyond constructing classrooms, his strategy fostered a sense of dignity, self-reliance, and valuable practical skills among the students. At the Tuskegee Institute under Washington's leadership, students focused on learning other practical trades such as blacksmithing, farming, and domestic skills like cooking and sewing. The aim was to equip them with hands-on skills for self-reliance and to empower them to pass this knowledge on to others in their communities. Washington believed that vocational training would lead to economic stability and a better quality of life for African Americans in the segregated South. Washington taught that success was earned through perseverance. Washington's message of self-help and economic progress resonated with many, but it also sparked controversy. His famous Atlanta Compromise speech in 1895 encouraged Black Americans to focus on vocational skills and economic stability over immediate civil rights. As indicated in the following excerpt from Washington's speech,
Mr. President and gentlemen of the Board of Directors and citizens, 1/3 of the population of the South is of the Negro race. No enterprise seeking the material, civil, or moral welfare of this section can disregard this element of our population and reach the highest success. I but convey to you, Mr. President and Directors, the sentiment of the masses of my race, when I say that in no way have the value and manhood of the American Negro been more fittingly and generously recognized than by the managers of this magnificent exposition at every stage of its progress. It is a recognition that will do more to cement the friendship of the two races than any occurrence since the dawn of our freedom. Not only this, but the opportunity here afforded will awaken among us a new era of industrial progress. Ignorant and inexperienced, it is not strange that in the first years of our new life, we began at the top instead of at the bottom. That a seat in Congress or the state legislature was more sought than real estate or industrial skill. That the political convention or stump speaking had more attractions than starting a dairy farm or truck garden. A ship lost at sea for many days suddenly sighted a friendly vessel. From the mast of the unfortunate vessel was seen a signal: water, water. We die of thirst. The answer from the friendly vessel at once came back: cast down your bucket where you are. A second time the signal, water, water, send us water, ran up from the distressed vessel and was answered, cast down your bucket where you are. And a third and fourth signal for water was answered, cast down your bucket where you are. The captain of the distressed vessel, at last heeding the injunction, cast down his bucket, and it came up full of fresh, sparkling water from the mouth of the Amazon River. To those of my race who depend on bettering their condition in a foreign land, or who underestimate the importance of cultivating friendly relations with the Southern white man, who is their next-door neighbor, I would say, cast down your bucket where you are. Cast it down in making friends in every manly way of the people of all races by whom we are surrounded. Cast it down in agriculture, mechanics, in commerce, in domestic service, and in the professions. And in this connection, it is well to bear in mind that whatever other sins the South may be called to bear, when it comes to business, pure and simple, it is in the South that the Negro is given a man's chance in the commercial world, and in nothing is this exposition more eloquent than in emphasizing this chance. Our greatest danger is that in the great leap from slavery to freedom, we may overlook the fact that the masses of us are to live by the productions of our hands and fail to keep in mind that we shall prosper in proportion as we learn to dignify and glorify common labor and put brains and skill into the common occupations of life. Shall prosper in proportion as we learn to draw the line between the superficial and the substantial, the ornamental gewgaws of life and the useful. No race can prosper till it learns that there is as much dignity in tilling a field As in writing a poem, it is at the bottom of life we must begin, and not at the top. Nor should we permit our grievances to overshadow our opportunities. To those of the white race who look to the incoming of those of foreign birth and strange tongue and habits for the prosperity of the South, were I permitted, I would repeat what I say to my own race. Cast down your bucket where you are. Cast it down among the 8 millions of Negroes whose habits you know, whose fidelity and love you have tested in days when to have proved treacherous meant the ruin of your firesides. Cast down your bucket among these people who have, without strikes and labor wars, tilled your fields, cleared your forests, built your railroads and cities, and brought forth treasures from the bowels of the earth, and helped make possible this magnificent representation of the progress of the South.
Leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois criticized Washington for being too accommodating to segregation. Yet Washington believed that long-term progress required patience, strategy, and faith. Throughout his life, Washington's Christian faith guided him. He saw his work not just as education, but as ministry, uplifting souls as well as minds. He met presidents and industrialists, yet remained committed to serving his people. By the time of his death in 1915, Tuskegee had become a symbol of Black achievement. Washington's life reminds us that faith, perseverance, and purpose can overcome even the deepest adversity. Booker T. Washington's story challenges us today. How will we use our gifts to uplift others? How will we rise from our own struggles with faith lighting the way? Thank you for joining us on History's Gifted. If you were inspired by this story, subscribe and be part of a community that believes in making history through purpose-driven lives. Until next time, remember, you too are gifted.